Big U had Nipsey Hussle killed. Everybody know that.
Nipsey Hussle's homies are celebrating after what just went down with Big U's son, and now, several of them are stepping forward, claiming Big U was holding onto Nipsey's merch all along.
They wrong information. 30 minutes later, the homies blowing me up like they just killed Nipsey.
According to reports, Nipsey's homies recently had a heated confrontation with Big U inside the prison where he's currently locked up. Let me break it down. The tragedy that sent shockwaves through the streets has taken a new twist.
We just have some super sad news coming out of Los Angeles. It was just reported yesterday Big U's son, baby Huey, unfortunately lost his life in the streets of Los Angeles on the night of Halloween.
The streets of Los Angeles never forget, and they damn sure never forgive. On Halloween night, 2025, the hip-hop world witnessed an event that sent shockwaves through every corner of South Central. It was a moment that reopened old wounds, reignited buried rivalries, and resurfaced one of the most painful chapters in LA's gang history. We're talking about the fatal shooting of Jabari "Baby Wee" Henley, the 34-year-old son of the notorious Eugene Big U Henley Jr., a man whose name holds power in both the streets and the music business. But this wasn't just another senseless killing in Los Angeles. Nah, this was something deeper, something that spoke to karma, retribution, and the sins of the father falling upon the son. Because what happened after Jabari's death, the videos that leaked, the confrontations that erupted, and the way Nipsey Hussle's affiliates reacted revealed a much darker story about loyalty, betrayal, and how the streets always collect their dues. On October 31, 2025, at around 11:11 p.m., Jabari Henley was outside the Fig and 69 smoke shop, near South Figueroa and West 69th Street in South Central Los Angeles. Anyone familiar with LA knows this area is deeply tied to the rolling 60s neighborhood Crips, same set his father once led. This wasn't just any block. This was home turf, territory where Big U's name once commanded absolute respect, territory where his protection should have extended to his bloodline. But that night, none of it mattered. According to police reports and eyewitness accounts, Jabari approached a dark-colored sedan, possibly a Toyota Camry or Honda Accord, when, without warning, the passenger opened fire. Gunshots erupted, at least 7 rounds, likely from a 9mm or .40 caliber semi-automatic. Bullets ripped through Jabari's body, striking his torso, chest, stomach, arm, and thigh. The attack was fast, precise, and merciless. He collapsed instantly as chaos broke out, bystanders scattering as his blood spread across the pavement. Despite desperate efforts by lapped officers and paramedics, including CPR and epinephrine injections, Jabari was pronounced dead at the scene. The cause: hemorrhagic shock from a torn pulmonary artery, fatal injuries that offered no chance of survival. The shooter sped off into the night, leaving behind only shell casings, camera footage, and a body that would soon become the center of one of the most talked-about tragedies in recent LA hip-hop history. LAPD's 77th Street Division took over the case, treating it as a homicide. Investigators gathered evidence: shell casings, over a dozen surveillance videos, and witness statements, while forensic reports were expected by early November 2025. 2 suspects from Inglewood were briefly detained but later released. A partial DNA match found on the suspect vehicle linked to a Hoover criminals affiliate hinted at something bigger. This wasn't random. It might have been retaliation tied to long-standing gang rivalries that have simmered for decades in South LA. Authorities even offered a $50,000 reward for information, but no arrests have been made. The case remains open. Yet what makes this tragedy truly complex is that Jabari wasn't the kind of man most expected to fall to street violence. Born on March 15, 1991, in Inglewood, he had stayed largely away from gang life. Sure, he made music. Songs like Hood featuring Hoodrich Pablo Juan had earned over 150,000 streams on Spotify, but his lyrics focused on survival and family, not glorifying violence. Friends say he worked as a warehouse supervisor in Compton, providing for his 10-year-old daughter, and trying to live clean despite the shadow of his father's reputation. To many, Jabari was grounded, mature, and understood the code, but chose not to live by it. Yet being Big U's son meant he could never truly escape the life. And on that Halloween night, it came for him anyway. Big U learned of his son's death around 1:30 a.m. on November 1, roughly 2.5 hours after the shooting. But he wasn't on the streets when he got the call. He was inside the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles, where he's been held without bail since March 2025 on 43 federal RICO charges, including extortion, human trafficking, bank fraud, robbery, tax evasion, and even a murder-for-hire plot tied to a 2021 Las Vegas case. The news reached him through a contraband phone call from Loose Cannon, one of his co-defendants. Sources say Big U broke down devastated and in disbelief. The same man who built his legacy on strength and fear reportedly wept, whispering, "Not my boy, not like this." It was a rare, human moment, proof that even the hardest figures feel pain when the streets come for their own blood. At that point, Big U's life was already unraveling, his assets frozen, his empire collapsing under federal scrutiny, and now, his firstborn son, the one who had tried to escape the game, was gone. A memorial was planned for November 8, but it remained uncertain whether Big U would even be allowed to attend from custody, adding another cruel twist to his tragedy. Yet what followed turned heartbreak into chaos. Instead of sympathy, the internet exploded with mockery. Nipsey Hussle's affiliates and a large portion of his fanbase began celebrating Jabari's death as karma. Within 90 minutes of the shooting report surfacing, hashtags like #NipseyKarma and #JusticeForNips started trending. Thousands claimed the streets had finally balanced the scales, calling it divine retribution for Big U's alleged involvement in Nipsey's 2019 murder. Comments ranged from dark humor to open celebration. Some users posted laughing emojis, saying the universe never forgets. Others called it poetic justice. To them, Jabari's death wasn't tragedy, it was payback. And this wasn't just random internet hate. It came from people within the culture, fans, bloggers, even minor rappers who long believed Big U had betrayed Nipsey. Though no evidence has ever tied him to Nipsey's murder, Eric Holder Jr. was convicted and sentenced. The streets made up their mind years ago. To understand why the reaction hit so hard, why people mocked instead of mourned, you have to rewind. This wasn't just another loss, it was history looping back, ghosts returning. This was the spirit of Nipsey Hussle re-entering the story. The Big U-Nipsey connection runs deep. Their relationship dates back to 2006 to 2007, when Nipsey was just another hungry rapper trying to make it in LA's brutal underground. Big U, already a legendary rolling 60s OG transitioning from the streets into business, saw potential in Nip. He gave him mentorship, studio access, housing, street guidance, and advice on how to survive in both worlds, hip-hop and the hood. For a while, it looked like a brotherhood. Big U was the mentor, Nip the student. But what started as mentorship would eventually turn into one of the most controversial and conspiratorial partnerships in modern hip-hop history.
My nephew, TD, I was looking for artists. TD told me to go get Nip, and then seek Nip out of all the people that I already interviewed and talking to. And he was the sign of life. He was the diamond in the pile of...
In 2009, Big U officially signed Nipsey Hussle to a 10-year management contract under his label, Unique Music, a deal that gave Big U substantial control over Nipsey's career, business decisions, and earnings. According to Big U himself, the agreement included a 10% to 25% share of Nipsey's publishing rights through his company, Miss Astrid. On paper, it was supposed to be a win-win arrangement. Big U would provide connections, protection, and industry know-how, while Nipsey would focus on perfecting his craft, developing his brand, and expanding his reach. In those early years, Big U viewed Nipsey as more than just an artist. He often referred to him as a little brother or even a son in spirit. He played a key role in helping Nipsey navigate the dangerous web of Los Angeles gang politics, something that was vital for any artist trying to move safely across a city divided by colors, sets, and decades of bloodshed. With Big U's blessing, Nipsey could move through neighborhoods, perform at venues, and promote his music without constant fear of being caught in territorial crossfire. Big U's street credibility served as both a shield and a passport, giving Nipsey access few others had. But as Nipsey's career started to ascend, everything began to change. By 2018, the young artist had become a global icon of independence, running his Marathon clothing brand, building his own label, and making major business moves on his own terms. The 10-year contract with Big U was nearing its expiration, and Nipsey was ready to step into full control of his life and career. He had built his own network, earned his respect, and no longer needed a manager taking a heavy percentage of his profits. What had once been a mentorship now felt like a burden, a chain that kept him tied to a past he was trying to outgrow. This is where things turned dark, where speculation, allegations, and street whispers begin to blur the truth. According to federal wiretaps and court documents from Big U's 2025 RICO case, investigators uncovered evidence suggesting that Big U's operations went far beyond music management. They alleged he was running an extensive extortion network, one that targeted local businesses, artists, and entertainment figures under the guise of protection. In other words, the same security and influence he claimed to offer came with a price, and anyone who refused to pay risked intimidation, threats, or even violence. Controversial commentator Charleston White has publicly accused Big U of trying to extort Nipsey Hussle, claiming that as Nip's fame and wealth grew, Big U demanded continued payments in exchange for street protection. While Charleston White is notorious for his inflammatory and attention-grabbing statements, he wasn't the only one voicing these claims. Several figures within the LA hip-hop scene have echoed similar suspicions, implying that behind the mentorship, there may have been manipulation, control, and unspoken threats. Whether these allegations are entirely true or not, one thing became clear. By the time Nipsey walked away, the relationship between him and Big U had shifted from loyalty to tension, from brotherhood to bitterness, setting the stage for one of the most controversial rifts in modern hip-hop history.
Big U had Nipsey Hussle killed. Everybody know that. Everybody know Big U called and hit. They were really jealous of Nipsey Hussle, homie. All the big homies in the set were jealous of Nip, because all the young love Nip. So Nip had got bigger than the set, cuz ain't nobody bigger than.
The theory pushed by Charleston White and others is that as Nipsey Hussle rose in fame, influence, and respect, the old guard including Big U felt threatened. In gang culture, no one is supposed to outshine the set or the organization. While members can succeed individually, eclipsing the gang or challenging its hierarchy is a violation of the unspoken code. By this measure, Nipsey had crossed a line, becoming more recognized and respected than the Rollin 60s themselves. By late 2018, the relationship between Big U and Nipsey had completely fractured. The breaking point came in a chore parking lot after Nipsey recorded a diss track aimed at Big U, calling him a scrapper, not a rapper, and questioning his authenticity. What may have seemed like artistic expression was interpreted as a direct challenge to Big U's authority and reputation. According to multiple sources, Big U confronted Nipsey and his brother Samuel Black Sam Asgam over the track and gang-related tensions. The encounter turned physical, with Big U reportedly assaulting both brothers. Black Sam fired a weapon in self-defense, leading to his arrest when Lapt arrived. No one was injured, but the incident marked a complete breakdown in their relationship. This fight wasn't about music or money, it was about respect. As an OG in the Rollin 60s, Big U demanded loyalty, and Nipsey's refusal to resign with Big U's label after the contract ended, combined with the diss track, was seen as betrayal. Despite the bad blood, reports suggest the two eventually made peace, with Big U later publicly praising Nipsey. Yet federal wiretaps from 2023 painted a different picture, capturing Big U boasting about being bigger than Nipsey and threatening anyone who crossed him. He even referenced disciplining Nipsey, implying the parking lot confrontation was gang enforcement, not merely a business dispute. Then came the moment that changed everything. March 31, 2019, the day the mentor became suspect, the student a martyr. Nipsey Hussle was shot at least 10 times outside his Marathon clothing store in South Los Angeles and later pronounced dead at a hospital. The shooter, Eric "Shitty Cause" Holder Jr., a member of the Rollin 60s, was convicted in 2022 and sentenced to 60 years to life. According to the official story, Holder confronted Nipsey over rumors that Holder had cooperated with law enforcement, then returned with a weapon and fatally shot him. Case closed? Not even close. Almost immediately, conspiracy theories emerged suggesting more was at play. One of the most explosive claims came from Loose Cannon, a close Big U associate later indicted in the federal RICO case. In a viral interview, Loose Cannon alleged that Big U had called him roughly 30 minutes before Nipsey's death to say Nipsey had just been killed, though he was still alive at the time. This revelation fueled decades of speculation, casting a long shadow over the official narrative.
I'm on the phone, he FaceTimed me. So he FaceTimed me and stuff like that. He was like, Nipsey just got killed. I'm like, sick, so I didn't hear that. So I hang up with him. I called Nipsey, and I'm like, Nipsey, what's up? He was like, oh, what's up with it?
Nipsey answered.
Nipsey answered. But after I talked to Nipsey and I was like, yeah, I love you, cuz, or whatever like that, I'll see you later or whatever. So I hung up the phone. I thought Big U gave wrong information. 30 minutes later, the homies blowing me up like they just killed Nipsey.
If Loose Cannon's account is accurate, and that's a big if, given his own federal legal troubles and possible motives, it suggests that Big U may have had prior knowledge of the attack on Nipsey Hussle. The implication is chilling, that he knew what was about to happen, and some theorists even suggest he could have played a role in orchestrating it. This theory gained traction when factoring in the timing, the lingering feud between Big U and Nipsey, and the alleged pattern of violence attributed to Big U's criminal enterprise. Charleston White, never one to hold back, directly accused Big U of ordering Nipsey's murder, framing it as a jealousy-driven hit. According to White, the old guard of the rolling 60s couldn't tolerate Nipsey's rise, seeing his influence as surpassing the gang itself. Former Death Row Records rapper Alicia SKG Choice echoed these accusations, citing Big U's history of extortion and violence. She claimed to have witnessed him assault individuals in Nipsey's presence and argued that his past behavior made such an act plausible. These allegations came from people claiming first-hand knowledge or direct experience with Big U's methods. They weren't baseless rumors from outsiders. Big U, however, has consistently denied any involvement in Nipsey's murder. He addressed the claims in multiple interviews and even issued cease and desist letters to media outlets, including No Jumper, over the spreading allegations. In one particularly detailed interview, he presented his version